This is a reading from The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall that I thought was super poignant. So this says the Hermetic theory concerning the causations of disease. According to the Hermetic philosophers, there were 7 primary causes of illness. The first was evil spirits. These were regarded as creatures born of degenerate actions, subsisting on the vital energies of those to whom they attached themselves. The second cause was a derangement of the spiritual nature and the material nature. These two, failing to coordinate, produced mental and physical subnormality. The third was an unhealthy or abnormal mental attitude, melancholia, morbid emotions, excessive feeling, such as passions, lusts, greeds, hates, affected the mumia from which they reacted to the physical body, where they resulted in ulcers, tumors, cancers, fevers, and tuberculosis. The ancients viewed the disease germ as a unit of mumia, which had been impregnated with the emanations from evil influences which it had contacted. In other words, germs were minute creatures born out of man's evil thoughts and actions. The fourth cause of disease was what the Orientals called karma, that is, the law of compensation, which demanded that the individual pay in full for the indiscretions and delinquencies of the past. A physician had to be very careful how he interfered with the workings of this law, lest he thwart the plan of eternal justice. The fifth cause was the motion and aspects of the heavenly bodies. The stars did not compel the sickness, but rather impelled it. The Hermeticists taught that a strong and wise man ruled his stars, but that a negative, weak person was ruled by them. These 5 causes of disease are all superficial in nature. They must be estimated by inductive and deductive reasoning and a careful consideration of the life and temperament of the patient. The 6th cause of disease was a misuse of faculty, organ, or function, such as overstraining a member or overtaxing the nerves. The 7th cause was the presence in the system of foreign substances, impurities, or obstructions. Under this heading must be considered diet, air, sunlight, and the presence of foreign bodies. This list does not include accidental injuries, and such do not belong under the heading of disease. Frequently, they are methods by which the law of karma expresses itself. According to the Hermeticists, disease could be prevented or successfully combated in 7 ways. First, by spells and invocations in which the physician ordered the evil spirit causing the disease to part from the patient. This procedure was probably based on the biblical account of the man possessed of devils whom Jesus healed by commanding the devils to leave the man and enter into a herd of swine. Sometimes the evil spirits entered a patient at the bidding of someone desiring to injure him. In these cases, the physician commanded the spirits to return to the one who sent them. It is recorded that in some instances, the evil spirits departed through the mouth in the form of clouds of smoke, sometimes from the nostrils as flames. It is even averred that the spirits might depart in the form of birds or insects. The second method of healing was by vibration. The inharmonies of the bodies were neutralized by chanting spells and intoning the sacred names, or by playing upon musical instruments and singing. Sometimes articles of various colors were exposed to the sight of the sick, for the ancients recognized, at least in part, the principle of color therapeutics, now in the process of rediscovery. The third method was with the aid of talismans, charms, and amulets. The ancients believed that the planets controlled the fluctuations of the human body, and that by making charms out of different metals, they could combat the malignant influences of the various stars. Thus, a person who is anemic lacks iron. Iron was believed to be under the control of Mars. Therefore, in order to bring the influence of Mars to the sufferer, around his neck was hung a talisman made of iron, and bearing upon it certain secret instructions reputed to have the power of invoking the spirit of Mars. If there was too much iron in the system, the patient was subjected to the influence of a talisman composed of the metal corresponding to some planet having an antipathy to Mars. This influence would then affect or offset the Mars energy and thus aid in restoring normality. The fourth method, was by the aid of herbs and simples. While they used metal talismans, the majority of the ancients did not approve of mineral medicine in any form for internal use. Herbs were their favorite remedies. Like the metals, each herb was assigned to one of the planets. Having diagnosed by the stars the sickness and its cause, the doctors then administered the herbal antidote. The fifth method of healing disease was by prayer. All ancient peoples believed in the compassionate intercession of the deity for the alleviation of human suffering. Paracelsus said that faith would cure all disease. Few persons, however, possess a sufficient degree of faith. The sixth method, which was prevention rather than cure, was regulation of the diet and daily habits of life. The individual, by avoiding things that caused illness, remained well. The ancients believed that health was the normal state of man. Disease was the result of man's disregard of the dictates of nature. The seventh method was practical medicine, consisting chiefly of bleeding, purging, and similar lines of treatment. These procedures, while useful in moderation, were dangerous in excess. Many a useful citizen has died 25 or 50 years before his time as the result of drastic purging or having all the blood drained out of his body. Paracelsus used all 7 methods of treatment, and even his worst enemies admitted that he accomplished results almost miraculous in nature. Near his old estate, the dew falls very heavily at certain seasons of the year, and Paracelsus discovered that by gathering the dew under certain configurations of the planets, he obtained a water possessing marvelous medicinal virtue, for it had absorbed the presence of the heavenly bodies.